This podcast is brought to you by Taaffes Bar. Taaffes Bar are Galway's #1 GA pub in the heart of the Latin Quarter with live Irish music twice a day.
So delighted to be joined by Barry Cullinane on, it's hard to believe, our third episode of the Power Rankings in the Galway Club Championships. We have done senior, but there seemed to be, I suppose, a lot of people out there wanted to see the intermediate Power Rankings, so we said we'd come up with them. Was this as difficult as the senior for you, Barry?
Yeah, I hope it's not as controversial anyway, Paul. Or I'll be getting both of us into more trouble. But probably difficult in terms of like how do you rank the two teams that came down, Monavea Abbey and Carrow? How do you rank them in a competition they've never been in before? So, like, you have to give credit to the teams that'll probably be coming with a bit of momentum, and then you'll be looking at what Monavea and Carrow can do in the first round. So I think this is particularly it's particularly a division that'll change dramatically. I think in the first round or two of the championship, and come to round three, that last round, we should have a clearer picture of how every team is going. And look, I'm not claiming to be Billy Costello here that has access to all of the clubs and know exactly who's there and who's not there and who's around and who's not around. And so lots of it is going to depend on what happens this weekend, but we have a stab at it and wait for the abuse to come in and hopefully we're not cancelled by the stay week.
Yeah, let's just get straight into it. Obviously, the first round gets underway this weekend. Are you able to see that, Barry?
Yeah, it's on the way. There we go.
Yeah, so I'll just start with the second slide. I'll just see, can I get this to full screen now? I might be able. Well, we'll just go with this anyways. We'll go with the second slide we have here. So we have here from 9 to 16. So I'll just go through them first. So 16, St. Gabriel's, 15th, Williamstown, 14th, Clifton, 13th, Calter, 12th, Killearn, 11th, Kilconly, 10th, Meath Granox, and 9th, Ardmore Mary. Barry, you believe that St. Gabriel's are going to struggle and make the drop to junior?
Do I? That's a big statement, Paul. No, I think a lot of it is based on form last year, and Williamstown, St. Gabriel's were under a bit of pressure to hold their status, and we're delighted. I'm sure delighted to do so. And like Williamstown is I'd have a fondness for it. That I remember the battles they had with Clare Galway a couple of years ago, and Clare Galway just came out on top. And they've really, really good players. Gary Kelly has been one of the real star forwards in intermediate football in Galway for the last 10 or 15 years. And it's a pity to see maybe the trajectory that they have gone into since, I suppose, since that glorious run. So, they were under pressure last year. Unless something changes dramatically, will probably find themselves under a little bit of pressure this year as well. They've a relatively tough group. They've two really, I suppose, local derbies in St. Brendan's and Maddie, and then throw in Carrow, who made the drop last year. They won't be easy. They'll be looking to bounce straight back up again. So I think, Williamstown will be under a little bit of pressure. And also I think St. Gabriel's will be under a little bit of pressure as well. But that's the headline, or first thing anyone from Williamstown or St. Gabriel's will see is them 15th and 16th. Unfortunately, someone has to be, in the nature of this thing, someone has to be 15th and 16th. That will certainly hold. It certainly won't dictate how their championship goes, because if either of these teams can get a right crack at it and maybe get a little bit of form, a little bit of momentum, they won't fear anyone going into the rounds that are on the way.
There's teams here that are even across senior and intermediate that'll be using this as motivation. Is this something you're liking now that could be mentioned in the dressing room?
I would say you're the host. You're the host, Paul. So I'd say you're the platform of this. So I think you should take all the flack bars. But I think, look, I know Jeff did the hurling one as well. But like, there's a pride element to this as well, and teams will say, look, we should be further up. And I've no problem like that if someone has I hands up, I got the Michaels one wrong on the first day, and if I get one wrong here as well, I'd be delighted to take a rationale for why it should be. But what I'd be saying to clubs is, look, go and prove me wrong, and I'll be the first to say I got that one wrong. But someone has to be in certain positions, and unfortunately for the ones down the lower end, you very rarely hear the teams that are ranked 1, 2, 3, or 4 complain that they're there. It's the teams that are further down. But again, like I said, the first day we did the senior, you could probably bunch 12 of these teams into in together and come up with loads of different ways of ranking them. It's really, really tight, and as I said, the first group or the first round or two will sort a lot of the men from the boys, I suppose.
Williamstown and Gabriel's, it's a sort of a reason why I think they're going to struggle is just this kind of rural kind of element in there, feeling some of the rural effects as well of just being one of these clubs at the minute, maybe that don't, like, compared to, there is some intermediate clubs in this championship that do have the benefit of younger players coming through every year.
100%. And St. Gabriel's, they deserve massive credit. They're in a very hurling dominated area, but yet they produce over and over again. I think Mark Cullinane is a selector with them this year. Like, a really good hurler, really good footballer. So they deserve huge credit, and that's exactly it. It's just that they probably won't. I wouldn't have the exact percentages, but they won't have first call in an awful lot of their players, and they'll be just looking to make the most of the time that they do have with their players. But again, whatever happens, whether they go and win it or they get relegated, they're a really, really important club in Galway football because they're trying their very, very best to keep the show on the road up there in terms of Gaelic football. And it's a struggle for a lot of clubs, particularly when they don't have the population, they don't have the playing population, they don't have the players coming through, but they're just trying to make the best of the resources that they have, and they're making a good stab at it.
14th Clifton, up from junior, Connacht junior champions from last year, come up short in an All-Ireland semi-final. You have them in 14th.
Yeah, and this is one, again, this sounds in as respectful a way as possible, is that like they kind of have to go now and earn the right to be pushed up the rankings in this competition. They haven't been in it before. It's more than the jump from intermediate to senior. It's a big jump no matter what level you reach in Connacht or All Ireland series. It's a big jump to go from junior to intermediate, and like they could be a team now that's saying, look, we're better than this, we're better than some of these teams, and maybe we've bet one or two of them in a league game. But I think they'll have a bit of momentum coming from their All Ireland run. They're definitely going to be fit. They're going to be strong, as all Clifton teams are. But again, I think, would I be right in saying they've Corofin, Monivea, I think Caltra in that group. So like that's not going to be an easy group for them either.
Yeah, Caltra 13th. They're not listed on the programme, but there has been one or two kind of rumours circulating that the Manions might or might not be available for them. It's kind of like every year, and if they're available for them, I presume you'd nearly be probably looking at the rankings differently, because that's the kind of difference them two players would make.
Well, if you say they're going to be there, Paul, I'll take your word for it. But
well, they're not listed on the 30 yet.
They're not listed on the 30, but I don't think that matters hugely. But they're just, they've first and foremost, Ask Rafohan had such a brilliant win last weekend that might put a little bit more pressure on them, that they'll be saying, look, we're were pushing for this senior B championship in the hurling, and they've had a great start to it. So I'm not sure will that I suppose dampen their enthusiasm to go back playing a bit of football. But I know that to my own detriment, I'm not sure how many years ago at this stage is, but Caltra Beddoes in a relegation playoff, and like that, the two Manions came back after a hurling campaign with Galway, and they were probably the difference on the day. So they're brilliant players. I think a big fillip for Caltra is Niall Coyne gone in as their coach. I know when he was with Menla, and I know Niall obviously for years doing huge work with St. Jarlath's. When he was with Menla, I know he had, the players had huge time for him. He's progressive and he's just a good fella. So he'll have them well set out. He'll have tactically very, very good, and he'll have them wanting to go and play football. So that's big for them. But again, they're just at the moment they're just trying to build and progress a little bit. I can't see them being at the business end of the championship, but they've a lot of really, really good young players, and they've kind of, for want of a better, they've taken the hit of losing all those kind of, generational players of the Meehans and all those guys that got them to the success that they had. They've taken that hit, they've probably found their level, and now they're trying to progress from that. And like, I would hope that, as a Galway football supporter, if I could see Caltra or Kilconly or these teams go and progressing and moving forward and getting back up to the senior ranks, I think it could only be good for Galway football.
I get the sense one club you might get a bit of backlash here now from could be Kilconly.
Again, probably will, and they have some really, and like as I said, you could go from 12 to 5 and mix them in or around, and there'll definitely be some people upset, but they definitely have some players that could go and cause problems, but they probably haven't threatened to go up, I think, in the last couple of years, and that's the big thing for me. They've held their own, and that's kind of what that ranking around 12 to 5 is. It's their teams that are holding their own, and you're just looking for a team to go and push. But if they could get the likes of Michael Boyle and these guys, if they could get him motoring, then who knows what's in store for them. But at the moment, I think they're just a little bit off getting to that business end of the championship.
Clonberne then at 11th. A good year last year to get out of their group when you consider everything that went on with Shane Walsh going to Kilmacud Crokes and everything. And someone they didn't have last year that they have back this year that'll make a massive difference is Liam Boyle.
Yeah, he's a brilliant footballer. I suppose again, I was just looking at their group, and like the Micheál Brannach's, Cartoon and Kilconly, like that again. That's
really, isn't it?
That's a tough group. Like you'd obviously have Cartoon and Kilconly a bit ahead of both of them. Then you're looking at a battle between themselves. Micheál Brannach has them ranked 11th and 10th. Liam Boyle, huge player for them. Like Conor Rabbit, he's been a brilliant servant for them. Probably just struggling around the middle of the pitch for really good ball winner, and obviously the loss of Shane is a big one. But Jason Tannion, like a Kilconly Clonberne man to the core, is gone in there. Again, he'll have them fit. He's loads of experience. He'll know the other teams in the group inside out, and he'll have set up for that. But I just not sure that they have the players to go and really come out of that group and find themselves in a position that anything is possible.
Then you mentioned there Micheál Brannach's in 10th place. Killian and Curran obviously being with Galway, like we had Sean Denver on the podcast earlier, he was talking about the lift that gave the Micheál Brannach's players. In fairness to them, they've never been really too far away.
No, and any of these teams from 1 to 10, will find themselves the reality is that out of the 16 teams, 8 of them are going to find themselves in quarterfinals. So there's only another 8 that are going to find themselves out and running, and I would expect Micheál Brannach's to there or thereabouts. But again, I had to look at the group and say, like, are they better than Cartoon? Are they better than Kilconly? I'm just not convinced just at the moment that they are. Killian O'Curry is a brilliant player. We saw what he did, at underage level for Galway and under 20 for Galway. Sean Denver and Fintan O'Curry. Ronan O'Biolan in goal is a guy that like, I think he's an excellent goalie. Didn't get a fair crack at the whip with Galway, but didn't get, I suppose, a run of games that he would have hoped he would have got a couple of years ago, and it just has cost him. But like, they're strong there. They have a good goalie. They have a good midfield. They have a hard-working half forward, and they have a good inside forward, which is a good recipe for success. I'm just not sure the supporting cast is up to a level where we could see Micheál Brannach's getting to like semi-final and final stage. And as I think it'd be a brilliant achievement for them, or they'd be very, very happy if they come out of this group at the expense of a Cartoon, Kilconly, or Kilconly.
Why haven't your neighbours or more married pushed on?
Like, it's very difficult in that, like, there's so much great work being done in Ormore Mary, and like, they've, we know what sort of development that the development that they're trying to put in place. We know I suppose the playing personnel that they have, the playing resources that they have are really good, and there's some really good young players coming through. Like, we know obviously Conor Carroll in goal is a really good keeper. He gives them, solidity at the back. Malachy Black, guy I had, obviously we know his sister is a brilliant camogie player, but is a guy that I worked with on the 21 level, excellent footballer, but at the moment, to me, they're just lacking.
Is it over-reliant on Mark Ronaldson?
Like, I suppose that's. I don't know, did I see Mark Ronaldson in the programme, did I?
It is number 22.
Number 22, yeah. It has been an over-reliance on Mark Ronaldson. They just, for me, looking at them, I don't know them inside out now, but looking at Ormo over the last 4 years, I haven't seen a structure, the same team. You know what I mean? There's always these 3 or 4 new people that maybe are coming out of the pack that haven't got this real core group of players. And I think until they can get that, they're probably not going to push on to the success that they hope that they would have off the pitch. If they can do that and build, then they'll get a momentum behind them that'll be very, very hard to stop, and the club with huge potential.
So we're moving now into the top 8. So at 8th, St. Brendan's Ballygare, 7th on Carrua, 6th Curvin, 2nd team, 5th Courtney Shamrocks, 4th Monavay Abbey, 3rd Illinois, 2nd Glenmally, and 1st Kilconly. St. Brendan's Ballygare at 8th for you?
Yeah, and again, as I said, like, we know, like, Jerry Kilcommons went in there as chairman, and he has done huge work, got really, really good structures in place at underage level, and they've enjoyed good success. Like, not always winning, and that's not always the most important outcome of underage structures. The most important outcome is player retention, and they seem to have that. On top of that, there's some guys that are around a long time, and like Darragh O'Malley deserves massive credit to be still plowing away down there. He's has always been a brilliant footballer, brilliant athlete, and a great leader for them. But it's like someone shocking seeing these lads. Like, they've some really, really good players, and they just need a couple of more years, I think, of finding they're not finding their feet at intermediate level, but finding a way to go and win tight games at intermediate level and then go and push. And I think, again, when I think of Galway, North Galway football, Ballygare was a club that always produced players for Galway down through the years, particularly at underage level. And I think if we can get the likes of Ballygare pushing again, then it's nothing but good for Galway football.
Yeah, former Kirpin coach and selector Joe Kenny in there coaching Ballygar, so it's a really noticeable appointment this year. So it'll be interesting to see how that gets on during the year. On Carrow at seventh for a team that came down from senior football this year.
Yeah, but they came down and they didn't have a good year last year. Like it wasn't a case of they got caught, being really unlucky. Last year wasn't. So now they've had, some off the pitch. They've had some hardship over the last couple of years. It hasn't been easy for them either, and I think that knocks the stuffing out of them quite considerably as well. But I think the first round is going to be so important to them that they're going to have to go and try and build their confidence. And they have lots of really good players. You know, like the likes of the Darrow Shays and these guys, Stephen O'Brien's, Micheál O'Brien in the middle of the pitch. Like they've lots of good athletes, good players, big, strong, physical, typical Carrow guys who really do everything for that jersey. But if they were to get turned over in the first round on top of last year as well, I think it just makes the year very, very difficult for them. In saying that, that they probably don't have. They'd be disappointed if they don't come out of their group. That puts them in a quarter final. Then who knows where it takes them from there.
Kirpin B in sixth place. This is relatively who are they going to lose to the senior division? Who are they going to keep?
Yeah, 100%. And when I saw their senior championship team last weekend, I was kind of thinking, well, who of the more established guys is going to go back and play a bit of intermediate football? And that might happen yet. And I know from chatting to Pádraig Cunningham in another podcast, he was saying how he'd seen Corofin intermediates and they were very, very strong. And like we know, everyone, they've a good structure in place as well. Like, so they've Brian Silk, who's a selector with their senior team, as the intermediate manager. Like, that's a really good way of doing it. Michael Donlan, Fintan Ford, two guys who know their football inside out, know Corofin inside out, know all the players inside out. And like, they're also ambitious. Like, Brian Silk, Michael Donlan, and Fintan Ford aren't just over the Corofin intermediate team because they want to just help out Corofin. They want to go and progress and test themselves and see exactly where they can go in this championship. And if they can win it, so be it. If they can get to a semi-final, quarter-final, so be it. But they're certainly going to be pushing very, very hard for it.
Cartoon Shamrocks?
Yeah, again, like, probably would have felt unlucky last year. Really, really good players. Possibly, the age profile.
Adrian Burnley back though now.
Yeah, exactly. And the age profile maybe isn't exactly what they want. Like, you go down to their team, Donal O'Neill's around a good time, long time. David Finnegan, Brian Roach, Adrian Varley. They're not the youngest team on paper, but they're very, very good footballers. And any team that gets the better of Cartoon Shamrocks can put their name in the hash to say we're potentially going to go and win this competition. So they're ranked fifth there, but like, I would be surprised if you didn't see them in a semi-final. And once they get there, who knows? But like, when you're talking about Adrian Barley, like, I would say, I could be wrong on this, but I'd say Pádraig Joyce, he's a guy he'll have to be looking at to say, look, if we lose Damien Comer as that real focus point for our full forward line, who's our backup? To me, we'll get very few better than Adrian Barley at that job.
Fourth and Monavea Abbey, down from seniors as well last year. Do you expect them to just be kind of outside the top three?
So when I said about Carrow that it wasn't overly unlucky, that they just had a very bad year last year, I think Monavea were the team that were really unlucky. Like, they got pipped in a couple of games where they could have gone and won it, and it just put them into that relegation dogfight. That's stick your finger in the air and see what way the wind is blowing, sort of stuff. Like, you end up in a relegation battle. There's no guarantee how it's going to go out. But I thought in the group stages they weren't bad. Obviously, they've Killian, Caelan Mullery, and a lot of it again will depend on who's available to them. But Bunty Roach has gone back in there, and the one thing he will do is galvanise everything. I think he's Michael Farraher, I think, is his son-in-law, so he didn't really have any option but to go in with Bunty. But like one thing Bunty will do is he'll galvanise the whole crew. He'll bring that Monavea Abbey spirit, togetherness, toughness to the whole thing. And again, there's only one thing in their mind, I can guarantee you, and that's going to win this intermediate championship. They're not worried. They're not going to be looking over their shoulder about not getting out of the group or relegation battle or anything like that. They're going in this thing to win it, and they've lots of really, really good players to go and do it.
I think it are like massive for them to have Sean Mulcair back from injury after the year he had last year.
Massive for everyone, and I think Stephen Joyce still over them.
Yeah, obviously Jason Tanyan has left his management ticket, but he's Stephen Joyce is still over them, so he's sticking with them, and he still believes there's something there.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I think they've some good players. Like again, I think Colin O'Brien on. I think he has gone travelling. He's going to be a big loss, and he was a real driving force around the middle of the pitch. But like Patrick O'Donnell is a brilliant player, and obviously Sean McCurns, Owen Pole. They've lots of really, really good footballers. They'll have been disappointed that they didn't, or that they haven't made the jump to senior ranks. I think they've had opportunities in the last couple of years to go and do it. Again, Stephen Joyce will know every footballer that they come up against inside out, and he'll have a plan made for everyone. He'll have his matchups right, and he'll have his tactics right. Do I see Alan Aaron going to win in the competition? I don't. Colin O'Brien is just such a big loss to them, but they're certainly a top 4 team. And like again, if you can say you've taken them out, then you've a right good chance. And I just think their group probably helps them as well a little bit. St. Gabriel's, Killearn and Ormore Married, they'll be certainly expecting to get out of that, get into a quarter final. Who knows where it takes you from there.
First and second Glenamani, first Kilconly. Both of these sides played last year in the championship, and it went all the way to extra time. Kilconly just win the game out in the end, so like there won't be much between first and second.
No, and I think I just put them top because they I would say fortuitously enough got the better of Glenamady in last year's semi-final. And I think on paper they have a very, very good team, and particularly good forwards. And like Paul Mannion had a brilliant year last year. Conor Marsden, Niall Daly's a guy that'll be hoping to, like he had a brilliant year with Galway 2022. Just plagued by injury this year. Probably just didn't get a run of games or enough time to get himself back into the mix for that midfield contention. So, like again, you'd be saying to Niall, if you're chatting to him, I'd be saying like, look, go and stand out here. And I think if he can do that, Conor Marsden can link the play and get ball into Paul Mannion. They've a great chance to get over the disappointment of last year and get up to the senior ranks.
And you expect Glenamady to challenge?
Yeah, and again, like a brilliant club. Like just go all the way back to Shea Walsh. Like I remember, as a young fella, like seeing Shea Walsh kick 8, 9, 10 points in every game. He went out and go to Paul Geraghty, Aidan Geraghty, Tomas Giblin. Like they were even go back for O'Neill for people like Glenamady's a brilliant club. They've brilliant people down there, and they've done tremendous work. And like they have a good team on paper. Conor Raftery, top midfielder. Peter Thomas Keaveney, good defender. And I think they'll, obviously Cormac Hazelin in goal. They'll certainly be thereabouts in this. And if someone slips up, they'll be looking for a chance to push themselves up to the senior ranks.
Yeah, so that's opening round of the Galway Intermediate Football Champion Power Rankings. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people here to get involved and give their opinion, but that's what it's all about, of course, with Power Rankings. Of course, these will be adjusted next week based on the results, but that's all on our Power Rankings for today.